All right, we're back. Another goddamn episode of the Apex Sapien podcast, our YouTube channel, whatever you want to really call this thing. The Church of Sapiens. This is a very important topic. Very important topic. Because I think a lot of young people have gotten this misconstrued. That in life, if you are a real sapien, you are either building or you are fighting. That's the only option you get in this life. If you really want to climb to the top of the mountain, if you want to make something yourself, you better either be building or fighting. And to build or fight, they are really two of the same thing. There's a lot of overlapping fundamental things that you will learn about yourself in doing both. And this is very important because they both translate to one another. Because in order to fight, you must build yourself into a worthy adversary or a worthy warrior. And in order to build, you must have a warrior spirit in order to conquer the different setbacks and all the other type of bullshit that's going to occur to you in your life. Because building ain't easy and fighting ain't even easier. So I want to give like a quick little breakdown of what you're going to learn. Basically, I want to talk about how building and fighting, they both have the same foundation, and you have to be able to observe where you are on the board and be able to see how to best utilize your resources, which is the same thing in fighting. You got to know where you are in the fight, what you have available to you, what your skill set is. And number two is the discipline and the master aspect of fighting and building, because you need discipline and you need a master to be able to use your discipline in the most efficient manner possible, so you're not just wasting time doing things that are not worthy of your time. Because you don't know how to fight and you don't know how to build until somebody teaches you. And if you try to do it by yourself with no experience and nobody helping you, you're going to be fucking stuck forever. You're going to face a lot of roadblocks that's going to take you forever to get over if you just have somebody smarter than you that's been doing it to teach you how to go about to do it. And lastly, you need a worthy project and a worthy adversary to truly test your skills to see has the time and the training that you have put in, has it actually paid off? Did it make sense in the end when you actually are facing the true challenges of life? So let's go ahead and start with the foundation and observation part. So the most important thing when it comes to fighting is understanding the foundation of fighting, which is your footwork, your base, your ability to defend yourself, doing the small things correctly so then you can expand upon that basic foundation of a skill set in order to go into the more intricate aspects of the game. Same thing with building. You can't build a house without a foundation. If you don't have a strong foundation for your crib, guess what? That motherfucker is falling down. And that's with anything. Same thing with your TV mounting. If you don't drill those bolts into the studs, that TV's coming out the drywall. I can assure you that. That TV will be out the drywall. So you have to build your foundations. You have to have the basics down in order to start to build upon, to learn the intricacies. Because without foundations, you're nobody. You're nothing. You're not going to go anywhere in life. And that's with everything in just general. You have to have a foundation. And your foundation can be learned pretty easy by yourself. It's nice to have a teacher to be able to run these things to you, to explain. But if not, everybody can learn how to run, do basic footwork drills, learn how to use a hammer, nails, basic things like that. And once you understand the foundation of how to do the techniques of each individual thing, you can then move on to the next space, which is how to observe and take inventory of what you have at your disposal while you're either building or fighting. Because a builder is nothing if he does not have the right resources or tools to go build a house. Like if somebody tells you go build a house and you don't have wood, you don't have nails, you don't have metal, you don't have all the things necessary to build, well, best luck to you. You probably can just make a mud hut. And a mud hut is good. Don't get me wrong. That's decent. You can live in a mud hut. But a mud hut is going to be subject to nature's fury. And the same thing in a fight. You can have all the skills in the world. If you don't got stamina, if you don't know your the time limit, if you don't take inventory of what you can do, if your jab is strong, if your hand's broken, if you can't take in real-time information about what is around you and the resources that you have at your disposal, you're dead in the water in a fight. Doesn't matter how good you are. That's why a fighter's most terrible nightmare is not getting finished, not getting their arm broken. It's not anything like that. The most terrifying thing in a fight is running out of gas. So knowing your stamina levels, how long can you go? How much do you have left in you? Because they can tell you all that dig deep shit. Hey, that sounds good. But guess what? If you don't have anything to dig deep into, you're going down. You're going to get beat up mercilessly. So begin to understand and take inventory for what's around you so you can see what you can build with and what you have available to fight with you. Like if you go to war and all you have is a sword, don't fight the archer from 60 feet out. That's not going to go well for you. If you're a boxer, you probably don't want to get into the clinch with a wrestler. Probably not the best idea. Take inventory. Understand where you are relative to the board and understand what you have at your disposal. Because if you don't know what you have at your disposal and your opponent do, that's a wrap for your ass. That's one of the hard lessons I learned doing handyman jobs. I didn't have the right tools for certain jobs, and it cost me a lot of time and effort and energy, and I was in a fucked up position because I didn't have the right tools. I didn't take inventory, and it cost me. I lost a lot of battles that way. Now, secondly thing I want to go over is I want to talk to you about the discipline and the master aspect, because all your potential, everybody has potential in the world. Like, potential comes fucking a dime a dozen. Every fucking human being on this goddamn planet has the potential to be great. What separates the great from the losers is what they do every day. Now, some people might have better genetics. Some people might have worse genetics. Some people are smarter. Some people are dumber. But I can guarantee you, you're going to beat the guy who practices 1 out of 10 days as opposed to the guy who practices 10 out of 10 days. That 10 out of 10 days guy, that guy's scary. Because he's always going to get better. Every single fucking day. He's going to get better. And you're going to get better 1 out of 10 days. And then relapse and get worse. And that's what happens to a lot of you young people. You guys don't have any discipline. You never had something to force you to be true to the game in order to see improvement. You got away with just hiding off in the internet. That's why I say internet kids are fucked. Because they just don't have discipline. Like, the teachers don't discipline them. The parents don't discipline them. Your parents don't do what the fuck they're supposed to do. They're not teaching you shit because they don't know shit. Teachers don't know shit. And so you just walk around this bitch undisciplined looking at Andrew Tate videos hoping that that's going to teach you how to get better at life. Listen. Discipline, son. Discipline is the key to getting everything you want in life. Discipline equals freedom. The more discipline you have, the more freedom you have. If you wake up every day at 5 o'clock and you finish all your work by 1 o'clock, guess what? You now have the freedom to roam and do whatever the fuck you want to do from 1 till it's time to go to bed. But if you have no discipline and you just fuck around all day, guess what? Your life's going to get progressively harder to the point where you have no more freedom. And this happens with a lot of guys when they mess around with girls. They have no freedom. I mean, they have no discipline when it comes to women. And they mess around. They lose a lot of money. They have babies out of wedlock. And now they lose their freedom because they were undisciplined. There's always consequences to everything, young people. You got to understand that. There's consequences to everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Everything costs something. So that free lunch you got, it came at the cost of somebody else. It came at the cost of that animal that was killed to be able to provide the food for you. It came at the cost of that laborer who put the food in the fucking packaging for you to eat. It came in the energy of that truck driver getting in the truck and driving that food to your particular local grocery store or your fucking school. And it required the lunch person who gave you the food. And so you have to understand, your discipline is going to be able to take you to places you can never thought fathomable. But you have to put in the time. In the reps. And that's really what discipline is. It's just about time and reps. The more time and more reps you put into something, the better you will be at it. Like this YouTube channel. This is probably like my 400th, 500th video. The more I do it, the better I get. The longer I do it, the better I get. Same thing with TV mounting. Same thing with electrician work. Same thing with working out. Same thing with every principle in life. The more you do of something, the better you will get. It's a beautiful nature thing that the universe provides, that when you do work in something, you get better because you build neurons and pathways to help you get to the next level and you learn more intricacies. And that's why a master is so important, because the master has already mastered the discipline needed to be able to complete said art or task that they are currently doing, that they're attempting to teach you. If you want to learn how to fight, you don't go talk to somebody who never fought before. They don't know what to do. You go talk to somebody who's actually been in the realm of fighting, because that person knows the ins and outs of fighting. They know what damage looks like. They know when you're tired. They can sit there and read you just by looking at you, because they've done it so often. They have worked with so many people that they can just take a look and smell you, and they can know, okay, this person maybe has 2 minutes worth of fight in them. How can I get them to 5? Okay, well, I know it's going to take at least 2 months of this particular type of training to get this person's fight tank to 5 minutes. So let's get to work. And they know how to help you from being green into becoming a veteran. But you have to have that discipline to be able to listen, show up, and do what they ask, and drop that ego. A lot of you young people have a fucking huge ego. A lot of people just in general have a huge ass ego. They walk around just assuming they're the shit. Guess what? You're not the shit. There's always somebody bigger, better, and badder than you. And when you finally run across that person, it's going to be a rude awakening. Because your days of fucking bullshitting around and not having discipline, that person was disciplined. That person was up in the morning, 4 o'clock, putting the work in. And that's one thing Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather always talked about. Mike Tyson used to say, I used to love running at 4 a.m. because it gave me a psychological edge, because I knew my opponent wasn't getting up and running at 4 a.m. And because I knew my opponent wasn't doing that, I feel comfortable going the extra distance, because I know he hasn't put the time in and the work in like I have. And see, your training should be much more harder than your actual job. You should always be training for worst case scenario in all situations, for pretty much everything. Always assume the worst, prepare for the worst, and then hope for the best. That really is the best mantra. And it sounds so cliche and stupid, but trust me on this one. The harder you work, the luckier you get. The harder you work, the easier things get. It's a funny conundrum. And the less you work, the harder everything gets. If you don't go to a job, you don't want to work, you don't do what you're supposed to do, guess what? You're going to have a hard time living on the streets. So which one do you want to choose? Choose your heart. You're going to work or living on the streets. That's your only options. Nobody's going to take care of you forever. And if somebody does take care of you forever, you only become a weaker human being. You're only delaying the inevitable, which is when everybody dies and you're left alone, what have you built for yourself? How can you maintain yourself? If you can't do that, then, man, you're going to be some deep shit, sir. And this is why the master is so important, because the master understands these lessons so intricately that they don't even have to think about it. It's just automatic nature, and that wears into you because they're pouring their knowledge and their wisdom, their soul into you. So find a master that's worthy of your skill level or your potential. And the earlier, the better. But it takes a minute. You got to do the preliminary work of building your foundation so the master has something to work with. Don't force the master to sit there and fucking have to build the foundation. If you talk to a master house constructor person, they don't want to sit around and do foundation. And foundation is dirty, hard labor that's very simple. And that doesn't excite them. They don't want to sit around and sit there and look at simple, hard work labor that has to be done. They want to come in when it's time to build something. And that comes into the last part. Finding a worthy project and a worthy opponent. If you don't have a worthy opponent or worthy adversary or a worthy project that's testing your skills and forcing you to become a better being, all this is for naught. It's useless. And it's a waste of your talents. What is a champion that doesn't fight the best that are available to him? He's a paper champ. If you're truly a champ, you want to take on the best that's there to be taken. To truly prove, what am I made of? Have I put the work in? Am I as good as I think I am? Am I as good as I say I am? Am I as good as the people believe I am? If you're not willing to take on somebody who can capture the belief and to force you to rise to your best version of you, then you're just not living life, man. Dare to be great. And to be dare to be great means to take risks against people who you might not feel comfortable beating. Because here's the thing. If you're undefeated in whatever you do, that means you haven't fought the best. That means you've been dodging. There's no such thing as an undefeated champion. Or a real champion. Fight the people that you need to fight that make you rise to a level. The same thing with a project. What's the point of doing small time projects, getting your little bit of cash? At some point, you want to level up. You want to take on the bigger challenges. The bigger challenges are what's going to make you into a better builder. Because you're going to learn things about yourself that you didn't know. because you're going to be challenged. There's going to be things that you don't know, that you're not aware of. And it's going to force you to rise to the occasion and to gain new experience and new skills. And that's what life is about. And this is why building and fighting are they're so similar to each other. It's really poetic to some degree. Because when you think of fighting, you think of deconstruction. You think of tearing things down. But when you think of building, you think of construction. So it's always interesting to think, how could something that's so polar opposite have so many similarities to it? And this is like the dichotomy of man. So I want you guys to really go out there and really think about this, man. Because in life, you're either building to fight or you're fighting to build. And that's really how the game works, man. Appreciate y'all for listening. Hope this helped some people.